Good afternoon. I'm Pastor Joel Petermann, and I'm privileged to serve as the president at Michigan Lutheran Seminary. I also was privileged a few years back to spend 16 years on the East Coast. I was a pastor in New Hampshire, and during that time I also was the district president of the North Atlantic District for 8 years, so I've been down at your congregation. It's good to be back again. As tech-savvy people, you probably understand if I tell you to Google something, you know that you're supposed to do a quick search online for something. And if I asked you to Google theological seminaries, what do you think would come up?
Alexandria Theological Seminary down the road.
Okay, yep, that would be one of them. Maybe you've heard of Dallas Theological Seminary or Fuller Theological Seminary, Union Theological Seminary in New York. Probably you wouldn't find on the first page or the second page, or maybe not at all in a search like that, the name Michigan Lutheran Seminary. And that's partly because not only are we small and might not come up that way, but because the seminary is not like those kinds of seminaries anymore today. Those seminaries are seminaries that are intended to train pastors who are going to complete their studies at the end of their time of training to be a pastor. And that was at one time the purpose of Michigan Lutheran Seminary. When it was founded in 1885, it was a theological seminary for the Michigan Synod, and it was intended to be their seminary to produce pastors for this small church body in the state of Michigan at the time. Over time, however, after serving that way for about 25 years, the Wisconsin Synod and the Minnesota Synod and the Michigan Synod became federated with one another. And they decided of their schools that they had that the school that was in Michigan should become a preparatory level school, which means that it now was to train high school age students from 9th to 12th grades. And then after they graduated from that preparatory school, they would go on to the college that was going to be the College of Ministry for them. At that time, it was Northwestern College for pastors and Dr. Martin Luther College for teachers in New Ulm, Minnesota. And then the pastors would go on to the Wisconsin Lutheran Seminary in Mequon. And so from 1910 until today, still as is our purpose, to be a preparatory school of the Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Synod as in Saginaw, Michigan. And that means that all of the students that you see here today are high school level students. The name was kept, however, because of the historical impact of that name as the Michigan Synod's seminary at one time. But it can be a little confusing because we're at the beginning of the process instead of the end of the process. For that reason, it's not a bad name for us to continue to have, because seminary, in its basic meaning, means a seed bed. And this is where the seeds get planted. So the young people that come to our school at 9th grade are just having that seed planted for them to think about going on into the full-time ministry. Before you today are juniors and seniors at Michigan Lutheran Seminary, and about 50% of them will go on and become full-time workers, either pastors or teachers or staff ministers in congregations of our synod. The other 50% probably won't. They'll go on to be well-trained lay members of congregations like yours. But that's okay, because at high school age, most kids don't know yet what they're going to do with their life. But they come, and if they have a thought of coming and being encouraged in that direction, and some of them go on and some of them don't. They find out it's not the right place for them in life. But it's an important thing that we have these preparatory schools in our synod to do that. And we have two preparatory schools. One is Michigan Lutheran Seminary, and the other is Luther Preparatory School in Watertown, Wisconsin, both doing the same thing. We now have one college of ministry in Martin Luther College in New Ulm, Minnesota, and we have our seminary in Mequon, Wisconsin Lutheran Seminary. So we have a three-tier, four-school system, two prep schools, a college, and a seminary. One thing that all of us share in common is that we are members of the Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Synod, and this is the way our synod is determined to continue to have pastors and teachers because we believe that it's important as a church body to share the message of Jesus in the world. And that's what our young people are doing today. And I'd like to share with you a little bit of that message through Psalm 98, a portion of Psalm 98, where the psalm writer says, "Sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy arm have worked salvation for him. The Lord has made his salvation known and revealed his righteousness to the nations. He has remembered his love and his faithfulness to the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth have seen the salvation of our God. Shout for joy to the Lord, all the earth. Burst into jubilant song with music. Make music to the Lord with the harp and the sound of singing, with trumpets and the blast of the ram's horn. Shout for joy before the Lord the King." Our young people today are shouting for joy before the Lord their King and singing songs. Some of them may be new to you. Some of them maybe are ones that you've heard before, or the words at least are familiar to you. But according to the psalmist, all of them are a new song, because a new song means a song that sings of the salvation of Jesus that God has brought to us by his powerful arm, his son Jesus, as he came to this earth to redeem us and to make us his own. And we hope that your hearts are just singing along with that joyful message as the young people sing those praises and shout with jubilant songs today and share that with you from their hearts. I'd like to just ask two things of you and share one thing with you before I go today. And the first thing I'd ask of you is that you would remember these young people in your prayers. It's a long, hard journey to go through the training to become a called worker in our synod. And they have a lot of trials and temptations and a lot of hard things to go through, and they need your prayers to ask God to support them in that and help build them up so that they can continue to do that. The second thing is I'd also like to thank you because you help support this school. Every time you bring a mission offering, part of those mission offerings to our synod goes to support our prep schools and our whole worker training system. Without you, this school could not exist. So it's an important part that you also are supporting us with your offerings, and we thank you for that very much. The third thing is another request of you, and that is that I request that you might think about encouraging young people in your congregation to think about going on to become called workers, attending MLS or LPS, and going on into our system. The reason that's so important right now especially is because when May comes around this year and we have the assignments of our graduates, there won't be enough pastors to be assigned to our congregations that are vacant. And the same will be true also of our teachers. There won't be enough teachers. A lot of those congregations that are requesting assignments will go home without teachers and have to find another way to fill their classrooms. And the next years in our synod are going to be hard that way because there aren't enough students at our schools right now to fill the need that we have as a synod. And so it's important for us not only to pray, but also to find young people that might be able to consider that and encourage them now already to go on into that ministry so that in the future we will have pastors filling our pulpits and won't have vacancies that will last a long, long time. So keep that in your prayers and please encourage them because the future begins now and the future begins here in these prep schools. Thank you. God bless you and enjoy the rest of the concert. I will just mention to you there will be between the second and the third parts a free will offering taken which helps defray the expenses of our choir tour. Thank you.